You cannot cheat in the sport of boxing. Not if you're going to put on a pair of gloves and get inside that square circle and physically fight somebody, and potentially you could easily lose your life. Then to take anything which will give you enhance your performance.
I don't know. I'm just sick to death with it. I don't know what the answer is. I ain't got the answer. It's just fucked up, basically.
I'll get some news. Dillian Whyte failed a VADA test, adverse findings in his samples. What was going through your head when you were reading that statement?
Well, it's very sad, of course, that we've got another drug story on our...
Dillian Whyte has once again landed himself in controversy, and this time, the backlash feels decisive. After failing yet another drug test, the boxing world reacted swiftly and without mercy. This wasn't a minor oversight or a simple misunderstanding. It was a repeat of...
Once, then you got caught out, then you do it again. It can't be contamination, can it? Because you've been caught twice for doing the same thing. So, if it was me, take his license away. You know, because you cannot cheat in the sport of boxing.
Offense that could have put another fighter's life in danger. Among the most vocal critics was former world champion Duke McKenzie, who didn't hold back. He condemned Whyte's actions as a disgrace, stressing the danger of cheating in a sport as brutal and unforgiving as boxing. McKenzie's anger wasn't...
Failed two previous drug tests. The second one, he was exonerated. So let's not jump to conclusions. But it's not good for him, and it's not good for...
Just outrage. It was a call to protect the integrity of the sport. Boxing isn't football or tennis. Every punch carries the risk of life-altering injury, even death. That's why strict drug testing exists, to shield fighters from facing opponents with
of the sport. Even legendary columnist Colin Hart, usually a voice of reason and nuance, couldn't find a way.
Chemically enhanced advantages. McKenzie wasn't alone. Veteran columnist Colin Hart, known for his measured takes, admitted there was no defending Whyte this time. In boxing, once your name becomes repeatedly tied to failed drug tests, the damage is often permanent. Even if later cleared, public opinion rarely waits for legal proceedings. It hardens, leaving reputations in ruins. Johnny Nelson, usually calm...
I think all this stuff's going to come out. Again, I keep being told to keep my big mouth shut until the facts come out, and Dillian Whyte right now is in the process of clearing his name. So Dillian Whyte could fight.
...and diplomatic, appeared visibly shaken when discussing the situation. His frustration mirrored the feelings of many fans and pundits. Another drug scandal, more silence, no clear answers, and zero accountability. Nelson voiced the question on everyone's mind. How many times can a fighter cross the line before the sport finally shuts the door for good? The entire affair draws parallels to the recent Conor Benn saga. Conflicting narrative...
Cheating bastard. You know, that's the initial reaction. Whether it's a first fail or a third fail, that's the initial reaction. Your gut reaction is, but then obviously we don't know what he's failed for yet, and we don't know what it is. But then when it's somebody that's failed 3 times, or this is the third adverse reaction.
Delayed statements and a troubling lack of transparency. It's a circus that leaves fans, media, and even fellow fighters feeling exhausted and disillusioned. Promoter Eddie Hearn, closely tied to both Benn and Whyte, only fueled suspicion when he admitted he'd been told to keep his big mouth shut. That's not the stance of someone defending innocence. If there's truly nothing to hide, why so much secrecy? Why so many careful half-statements? In the eyes of many, this latest scandal could be the final straw for Dillian Whyte, and perhaps a turning point for how boxing deals with repeat offenders. This isn't a public relations...
I've always been strong on that. I've always been strong on the fact that I don't believe in giving them a second chance.
You're basically saying, no 3 strikes and you're out.
No 3 strikes
and you're out.
No.
1, you fail a test and gone ski.
Absolutely, because I just believe then that moving forward, people would think twice about doing it. If they think, well, you know what, I'll get a second chance anyway.
Hiccup, it's a full-blown credibility crisis. While Eddie Hearn tried to tread lightly, trainer Dave Coldwell didn't mince words. His blunt, instinctive reaction, cheating bastard, captured the raw frustration felt in gyms and fan circles worldwide. Fighters, coaches, and fans are exhausted by the circus. It doesn't matter which banned substance it was, or how it got there. A failed drug test is a betrayal of everything boxing stands for. Simon Jordan and Spencer Oliver echoed the sentiment, calling for zero tolerance, no second chances, no soft landings. In a sport where one punch can alter a life forever, performance-enhancing drugs are more than a competitive edge, they're a loaded weapon. Boxing has no space for cheaters, especially repeat offenders. With multiple failed tests on his record, Dillian Whyte has eroded every ounce of public trust, allowing him to continue.
That the fight could never go forward, and some of the stuff that's come out since about people being, the board being sued and something, it was just a non-runner. It's great.
Sends a dangerous message to young athletes. Rules are bendable, consequences are negotiable, and scandals can be spun away with PR and legal maneuvers. That's why so many insiders are demanding a lifetime ban. This isn't just about YT. It's about the sport's integrity. Frank Warren, never shy with his words, called the entire situation madness. He's right. Instead of owning up, YT's camp is now threatening lawsuits against the board. That's not the stance of someone with nothing to hide, it's a sign of desperation. The fact that the planned fight never happened speaks volumes. This wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a calculated gamble that backfired. Meanwhile, clean athletes like Moses Itama, who train hard, fight fair, and live for the sport, are the ones paying the price, forced to watch the headlines dominated by scandal instead of achievement. Until boxing draws a hard line, the cycle will continue. And its credibility will keep bleeding away. Dillian Whyte, boxing's credibility crisis reaches breaking point. Dillian Whyte has once again found himself in the center of a scandal, only this time the backlash feels final. Another failed drug test has sent shockwaves through the boxing world, and the reaction has been swift, unfiltered, and unforgiving. This isn't a minor oversight or a paperwork error. It's a repeat offense that could have endangered another fighter's life, and the sport is treating it as such. Former world champion Duke McKenzie led the charge, delivering a blistering assessment of Whyte's actions. He called it what it was, a disgrace to boxing. McKenzie, speaking with the authority of a man who understands the dangers of the sport, reminded everyone why strict rules exist. This isn't football or tennis. In boxing, every punch has the potential to cause permanent damage, even death. That's why drug testing isn't a formality. It's a shield protecting fighters from chemically enhanced opponents.
The idea, what he is he's able to fight. The idea that he is cleared beyond any reproach is for the birds.
I disagree. I mean, we're never going to agree on it. We're never going to agree on it.
Well,
but when you don't receive a fine, when you don't receive a ban, when you are cleared and not hit, the reality is
opponents with dangerous, unfair advantages. McKenzie's outrage was echoed by legendary columnist Colin Hart, a figure known for balanced commentary. But this time there was no room for nuance. Hart admitted there was no way to spin this positively. In the brutal reality of public opinion, repeated drug violations stick. Even if a fighter is later cleared, the stain lingers. Reputation once lost is almost impossible to rebuild. Johnny Nelson, usually the picture of composure and diplomacy, looked visibly unsettled when discussing the matter. His frustration mirrored what countless fans and pundits are feeling: another drug scandal, more silence, no transparency, and zero accountability. Nelson asked the question everyone else was thinking: how many times can a fighter cross the line before boxing finally shuts the door? The chaos draws inevitable comparisons to the Conor Benn saga, shifting narratives, delayed statements, and an unsettling lack of clarity. Fans, media, and fighters are left frustrated, worn down by the circus of damage.
I mean, we've crucified some people, some fighters for popping one time, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? And Dillian should be no different, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what the situation is, but, to be caught 3 times and, just to paint the narrative that they do, you know what I'm saying? And,
If there's truly nothing to hide, why the hush orders? Why the careful tiptoeing around the truth? In the court of public perception, silence sounds a lot like guilt. And this isn't just a PR problem, it's a credibility crisis. While Hearn tried to remain cautious in his public comments, trainer Dave Coldwell wasn't nearly as restrained. His blunt, instinctive reaction, "cheating bastard," spoke volumes. It was raw, unfiltered, and perfectly in tune with the outrage bubbling through gyms and fan bases around the world. Fighters, trainers, and fans are done with excuses. It doesn't matter which banned substance was found or how it got there. A failed drug test is a direct betrayal of everything boxing is supposed to stand for. Simon Jordan and Spencer Oliver joined the chorus, demanding zero tolerance, no second chances, no soft landings. In a sport where a single punch can end a career or a life, performance-enhancing drugs aren't just unethical, they're a loaded weapon. Boxing has no room for repeat offenders. Whyte's multiple failed tests have eroded whatever trust once existed between him and the public.
The next in line, I think he's the future of the heavyweight division. I think he's an outstanding talent. I think he's got a good team around him. Ben Davison and Lee Wiley is the brains that study everything, and they use what we call video analysis now.
Letting him fight again would send a poisonous message to young athletes that the rules are flexible, that consequences are negotiable, and that scandals can be managed with slick PR and drawn-out legal wrangling. That's why the calls for a lifetime ban are growing louder by the day. This is bigger than Whyte. It's about preserving the integrity of the sport itself. Frank Warren, never one to hold back, called the situation madness. He's right. Instead of confronting the reality head-on, Whyte's camp is reportedly exploring lawsuits against the governing board. That's not the move of a man with nothing to hide. It's the move of someone scrambling for survival. The fact that the planned fight never went ahead speaks volumes. This wasn't an administrative blunder. This was a calculated gamble that went wrong. And as always, it's the clean fighters. Athletes like Moses Itama, who end up paying the price. Fighters who train clean, fight clean, and dedicate their lives to the sport are forced to watch the headlines be swallowed by scandal instead of celebrating genuine achievement. This entire debacle...
Give it everything, because he knows it's last chance saloon for him. He needs the victory here. So, look... We find out just how good Moses Itama is, I think, on the 16th of August when he boxes Dillian Whyte, because I think he wins it and wins it in style. But everyone they put in front of him so far is just dismantled. I think this kid's going to go on.
Underscores a painful truth. Boxing has failed to draw a hard enough line on doping. The sport's governing bodies talk about protecting fighters, but when the money is good and the names are big, enforcement suddenly becomes inconsistent. Every time a repeat offender is allowed back in, the sport chips away at its own credibility. For fans, the erosion of trust is palpable. They're tired of being told to wait for the process only to be met with delayed explanations, shifting stories, or behind-the-scenes legal maneuvering. They want a sport where victories are earned through skill, grit, and sacrifice, not through chemical shortcuts and loopholes. For fighters, the damage is even worse. They risk their lives every time they step into the ring. Facing an opponent with an illegal advantage isn't just unfair, it's dangerous in the most literal sense. When that opponent is someone with a history of failed tests, the danger multiplies. This is why so many insiders see Whyte's latest scandal as the final straw. Boxing's reputation is on the line, and the next steps will be telling. Will the sport finally take a stand and force meaningful consequences and send a clear message to the next generation? Or will it continue down the same...
4 years old, who's got always faculties right, getting trained by one of the best trainers in the United Kingdom, and then mate, it's like you got more chance of winning the lottery than you beating that Moses Itama.
Well-worn path, where money and status can buy leniency. One thing is certain. The cycle will continue until the sport stops treating drug cheats as temporary embarrassments and starts treating them as permanent exiles. If boxing wants to preserve its integrity, it has to be willing to sacrifice big names in favor of protecting the sport's soul. Until then, the headlines will keep being dominated by scandal instead of glory, and the credibility of the sport will keep bleeding away.